A new book explores the challenges of modern boyhood, and it argues our approach to raising boys has failed, and the time now is to change it. To Raise a Boy, Classrooms, Locker Rooms, Bedrooms, and the Hidden Struggles of American Boyhood is published by Atria. It's an imprint of Simon & Schuster, which is a division of Viacom CBS. It's an important book, though. Author and Washington Post reporter Emma Brown says that in the wake of the Me Too movement, she wanted to know, how will I raise my son to be different? And she joins us now for an interview you were seeing first on CBS This Morning. Emma, good morning to you. So we talk a lot on this show about what men do to each other, to women, but we don't spend much time thinking about why men are the way they are. And this book does that. It comes along at exactly the right time. And I was hoping you could begin by just telling viewers what it was you thought was missing from your parental toolkit when you looked down at your son Gus and thought, how am I going to do this?
Well, thank you. When my daughter was born 3 years before my son, I had such strong gut instincts about how I wanted to parent her to resist the messages that get beamed at girls from the time that they're born. And I realized I had none of those gut instincts for my son because I have never been a boy. Mm-hmm. And, I had never really even grappled with the idea that boys face pressures or stresses in the way that girls do. And so this book was a chance for me to explore that.
Yeah, it's interesting that, you think that certain things are innately different between boys and girls, but to a large extent, they come out the same, and then it's things that we teach them that make them different. And actually, I'll give you a really good example from my household this week. My son Teddy's favorite book currently is a book called Boys Dance. It's by the American Ballet Theater. It's about boys doing ballet. But as your book points out, and as we all know, at a certain point, he will start school and he'll start getting this message that certain things, maybe even ballet, is girly and not for him. What are parents supposed to do to stop that process?
Yeah, I think, shame is a really corrosive force, and boys get shamed for doing anything that is seen to be girly. And that is one of the ingredients that I think adds up to pretty poor outcomes for men in America, both in terms of physical and mental health. So many boys told me that they were told by their parents never to cry because they're boys. And so when we tell boys to shut off the parts of themselves that are human, that's how we end up with men who die by suicide at 4 times the rate of women, shorter lives for men. Boys are really struggle, and we need to help them. And as you say, parents need help from the institutions that help raise our sons, including schools, sports teams, faith communities. Absolutely.
Yeah, help boys become a complete person, as you argue. Consent is obviously a big issue. Parents know that you've got to teach the difference between yes and no, but it's more complicated. You have a phrase in the book that no is not always spelled N-O. Explain that.
Absolutely. Well, a young man I met, a college man, told me the way we talk about consent gets translated to boys like this. He says, you teach us no means no, and that teaches us we need to get her to say yes, get the girl we're with to say yes. And that is exactly what you're talking about. Girls and boys express themselves verbally and non-verbally. And so if we're not careful, the way that we talk about consent can just teach boys to ignore some of the nonverbal signs that they get that can be very clear. And instead just sort of look for a way to coerce or pressure. Yeah. So we've got to find a new way to talk about what consent is. And it's about listening, right? It's about listening to the person you're with and respecting what you hear from them, whether you hear that verbally or non-verbally.
Emma, part of the reason I really endorse this book for parents, even though it's not a parenting book, is because it helped you come up with a mantra, an idea for how you wanted to raise your son. So for your daughter, you were telling her strong and fearless. For your son, you came up with strong and gentle. I love that.
Yeah, I feel like it gives him access to the best parts of what we traditionally think of as feminine and the best parts of what we have traditionally thought of as masculine. And he should have access to the best of both of those worlds.
All right. If you're a parent and you're anxious about raising a boy in this world, this book will take your temperature down. I endorse it. Emma Brown, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. To Raise a Boy is on sale right now.